Hey everyone, welcome back to KBS Technocraft. Before we dive into today's video, I just wanted to take a moment to invite you to join my channel KBS Technocraft. If you like what you see, please consider hitting the subscribe button and turning on the notification bell so you never miss a video. This is second episode of our GraphQL series where we are driving deeper into building environment setup and building a GraphQL simple client server application from scratch using Node.js Express and HTML. Whether you are a new to GraphQL or refining your skill, this tutorial will guide you through a complete setup, API design, and front-end integration. So I have divided this complete discussion in 6 different parts. In the first part, we will learn how to install step by step Express and GraphQL, and then we will see what are the dependencies are required to be installed. Also, we are going to discuss about the prerequisite, what are the prerequisites required for Windows and Mac OS, and then we will be focusing on how to create a simple schema and resolver, how we can integrate this newly created a GraphQL query to a HTML front-end page. In this, we are going to create a simple application by having this particular uh, structure. So we are going to create a server.js file, and then we are going to create a data folder. Inside that, we are going to create a country's JSON data. For this, we are going to use the JSON data, and then I'm going to create a schema and then resolver. Then to integrate those GraphQL services or endpoint, we are going to have one index.html page and script.js file. So this will be the first sample application which we are going to create it, which will have a very basic information. Then, since this series is going to be continue for 20 series episodes, we are going to create a structure and applications which will contain a similar kind of structure. So we are going to have a GraphQL server which will have a schema.js and resolver.js and server.js, and then we will be having a HTML client application which will contains index and script.js file. This complete application will cover end-to-end integrations, but for today, we are going to have a simple application with a simple uh, query which will display the country information from a JSON data to HTML front-end page. Before we proceed further, we need to understand what are the prerequisite is required to be there on your system. So to run this application or environment setup, what I'm going to cover it today, you need to have only Node.js installed on your system. So if you are having Windows, just follow this to install it. There is official website from where you can download it and install it. It's very simple. And then for macOS, the right hand side, you can see that the steps are defined here how to install it. I will add these links into the description box. If you need more detail, please drop me a comment. I will try to assist you. Okay, so what I have done, I have opened the VS Code, and then I have a empty folder here. So there is no file and folder has been created. So what I'm going to do that I'm going to create some files and folder. So I'm going to use that terminal here. So I will click here and I will create a new terminal. I will use git bash here. So what I will do, I will go here and I will git bash. I will close here, and then I'm going to first initiate the npm. So I'm going to initiate the npm. So I'm going to type a command called npm init minus hyphen y. So what does it do? Basically, it's a create a package.json file. If you see here, now it's created a package.json file here. Now, what I will do, I will create some folder here. So I'm going to create a folder for GraphQL server. So I will create a folder called GraphQL server. You can manually also create it. So it's a created. Now I will one by one, I will create the files there. So now we need to create a server.js file. So let me create a server.js file inside that. I will create here, I will create here, and I will give a name server.js file. So I have created a server.js file. I have not added any code. What I'm going to do that I'm going to install the dependencies. For this simple application, we are having only Express GraphQL and GraphQL dependency. So I'm going to install it here by using npm install Express GraphQL and GraphQL. You can execute this command in multiple times, but I just want to execute all three one time. So that's why I have given all. Let's say, and then I will execute it. What will happen? It will install all these npm packages there. So now you can see that node modules folder has been created and you are able to install this. I will just clear this and then we will add the code one by one. So I'm going to add code in server.js. The first part is that we need to import the Express GraphQL libraries here. So I'm going to open here JS file and then I'm going to add this code here. So I'm importing those Express GraphQL and GraphQL what we just installed it. Now I'm going to create a schema. So for this environment setup, I have just simple hello world schema. So I'm going to just add a code for schema. So I'm going to declare a variable called schema and inside build schema, I have given type query and then hello and return type as a string. We will discuss more about the schema in upcoming series. Just for environment setup, just ignore it. Just understand that this is how we can define the schema. And then I will create a resolver. I have not given a resolver as a name, but whatever you have defined a query that should have somewhere as a resolver. So I have given name as a root here and whatever name I have given here, I'm just given here and just since a return type as a hello bird, I just added as a hello GraphQL word as a string type. Now what I'm going to do that I'm going to initialize this application with this schema and root values. So I'm going to create a express application and then I'm passing this schema and root value to GraphQL HTTP. Now what we need to do that the next step is that we need to run this application at a particular port. So for time being, I'm going to run this application on 4000 port and then I'm displaying a message on console that this application is running on this particular URL, right? So let me minimize this so that you can see this. The first set of code is here. So we have imported the libraries and then we have created a schema and then we have created a resolver, and then what we have done, we have initialized the application, and then we have run the application on that particular port 4000. Now to run this application, we need to do that, basically we need to type here node, and before you run that, make sure that you are having node installed there. So to how to check that, you just type node minus v, it will display you. So I'm going to run it now, node, and then I'm going to run that commands, that's a GraphQL server, because our file is inside this server, so we need to just run that. So I'm going to run that server.js. So once we run it, we will be able to see that the message whatever we have mentioned in the console.log is displaying here, server is running on that. What we need to do that, we need to copy this, or we can click it directly, and then we have to go to any browser and just click on here. Okay, so now since we have defined this URL, where we have defined the URL, we have defined this port and then base URL. So we will be able to access that on that particular URL. Now we will try to see a sample query which we have added is working fine or not. So we will try to run it. This is the editor basically which you will get it for GraphQL. So you can see here, this is how we can write a query. Hello is the query which we have defined in our code. So if you see here in our schema, we have defined a query that name is hello, and then as a resolver, what we are doing it, we are saying hello should return hello GraphQL. And if I mention this is test, if I save it, and again I will again rerun it. So I am just rerunning. Now it's running, and if I refresh it, you can see that this is the test. That means our code, our GraphQL server is up and running. Now what I'm going to do that, I'm going to create a folder called data, and inside that I'm going to have a JSON data for country. So I'm going to create a file. I'm going to create a file called countries.json. So let me add a file there. I'm adding countries.json data, and then I'll paste some dummy data here. Let me paste it there. So basically countries contain code, name, capital, currency, and phone. So this data I have got it from web. So I just pasted it here. Okay. So a country contains code, name, capital, currency, and phone. But as it is server.this, what I'm going to do that, I'm going to create couple of more files. So I'm going to create here is schema.js file, and then I'm going to add one more file, basically is called resolvers. Yes. Now in the previous example, what we have done it, we have defined our schema here. So what we are going to do that, we are going to remove the schema and resolver from here. So for example, we will modify later, but what we are going to do that, we are going to cut this information here and we are going to add information here. And this was working as a resolver, so we will cut it from here. And then what we will do, we will go to resolver and add that code here. Okay, but since we want to retrieve this country information, what we have to do that, we have to define this country type there. So what I'm going to do that, in the schema I'm going to define a type called country type, and country. Let's put capital C, country, and then we need to define attributes of those countries. So let's say we have we are having code, then we are going to define code, and then what type it is. Let's say it's a string, so we will define a string, right? And then we have multiple. What I'm going to, since all are string, what I'm going to do that I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to add those values here, attributes name. So we have a name. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add name, and then you have a capital, currency, and phone. So we will have to copy paste here capital, and then we will have to have a currency and phone. Okay, and that's it. So we have this schema which we have defined. Now we have to define a query. This is a type of schema. Now we have to define a query. Let's say inside query, what we are going to do, we are going to define a query. So we will see countries, and then what it's going to return is going to return this country object. In GraphQL, whenever you are defining a type inside the square bracket, that means it's a list or collection. So we are done with this queries and then type declaration. Now what we have to do, we have to add resolver. Also, we need to return this schema. So we are going to add that code for that. Okay, so we will add the code for schema and resolver. The complete code of schema will look like this. First, we need to import the required field here. What I'm going to do that I'm going to add the required GraphQL, and then we need to add a module.export because now it's not in same file, so we have to put a module.export here, and then this schema whatever we have defined we need to, now we need to go and define the resolver. So for resolver, basically we have two methods there, so we need to define it. One is we have already defined. Since we are using the JSON data, we need to first read the data and then we need to return it. So we'll come here and then we will first add the file system here, and then we will read the data from the country.json file. Now we will have to have that countries method here. So let me add this countries here, and then we need to return this data. So first we have to read the data and then we have to return it. To read the data, we need to just use the JSON that pass from that file, and then we will be able to read it. What I'm going to do that I'm going to read this data, this, and then we have to call this method here to return the data. Now we are good. We are having two methods now. One is countries and one is load data. Basically countries and hello, and then we are good. Now we have created resolver, we have created a schema. Now we have to use that resolver and the schema inside the server.cs file. So what we are going to do that we are going to use those as a required, and then we are going to initialize our app.use with those two schema and resolvers. So we are going to add this since it's there inside the same folder. We don't need this schema, and then we will have to have a resolver, and then we need to schema we have defined it instead of root. What we are going to do that we are going to define the resolvers. So we are going to define this value resolver, right? That's all what we need to do that. And let me remove this space and we will cancel it, whatever is running. We'll clear it here now and we will try to run it. Okay, so now our service is running. Now we should be able to query that. Let's go to the browser and verify it. Now I'm going to run it after implementation of countries. So what I'm going to do that I'm going to run again that server. Okay, so now server is running. We will go here. This is the previous queries which we have it. Now what we are going to do that we are going to add it countries. So we are going to countries. You can see that it's coming here, and then you have to give attributes which you want to select a name, let's say capital, and then comma is not required, and then I will put currency, and then I will put code, let's say like this, and then we will run it. We can see this all countries information, whatever there in JSON is coming. Now we can, if you want to select only the name, we can select the name here and we can run it. We can see that here only name is coming. So that means our code is working perfectly. Now what we are going to do that we are going to add couple of file there. Now we are going to add a folder called public. So I'm going to add a folder inside outside this. So I'm going to add a folder called public. That public folder should be outside. I'm moving outside. I just move it. And then what I'm going to do that I'm going to create basically one HTML page here. Let's say put I index dot HTML, and then I will create a JavaScript file called script.js, right? Now we'll add code for HTML. What we are basically going to do that we are going to integrate that GraphQL APIs with this index and script code to retrieve the country information. Just to save the time, what I'm going to do that I'm going to copy that code and paste it here. So I'm going to copy the HTML content. Basically, we will be having a HTML page with a UI control. So what we are having it basically, we are going to add that code into the HTML. So this is the code basically what we have done it. We have a UI where basically we are dynamically going to retrieve the country's information and appending to the DOM. Okay, so now we are going to add code in the script, basically script.js, which will be responsible for calling the data service APIs, basically GraphQL APIs. And so what we have done it on load of that, we have created a function. That function basically used to call countries, which retrieves only code and name, and then it used to get the response and loop that and run it, right? So that's what it is. So now I will open one more git bash command here, and then we will run that command to run this front end application. So we will run a command called npx serve public. Okay, so now our front-end application is running. Let's copy this. Let's click on this link. Now we will run the front-end application again, and we'll see that it's working fine or not. So we will run that, and we have seen that it's running on the localhost 3000. And then when I click it, it will navigate to this, and we can see that this is displaying all the countries code and name, whatever there in JSON data. So if you see here and you try to refresh it, you'll be able to see that there is a GraphQL queries is going. And if you see to uh, the preview of these queries, you will be able to see the data of how the queries are getting passed here. So this is the queries, and then you will be able to see the GraphQL queries is having the payload information as a country's code and name, because they are displaying only country code and name. So let's say if you want to display only the name, then what we have to do, that you have to come here in script file, and we can just get a country name here, and then we can display only the country name here. Let's say I will remove it. I will put Control S, and then I will cancel it. I will run it once again. This time it should display only the country name. So now let's go there, and I should refresh it. You can see it's displaying the country name. So what we have seen that here is that the data attributes are defined by the consumer application, what they needed. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, please consider subscribe to my channel.